Okay, thank you. And I'll call this meeting to order. I'm Bill Steele, and I'm acting chair of the Niagara Regional Police Services Board. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it is critically important that the board continues with its governance and oversight work. Since April, the board has held its monthly meetings virtually. Today, we are joining by Zoom, and we will continue with this practice until we can safely resume our in-person meetings. I want to take a moment to thank the chief, his executive leadership team, and the uniform and civilian members of the Niagara Regional Police Service who have been working diligently and at times under difficult circumstances. I also want to thank everyone for joining us today, Niagara Region residents, members of the media, and Niagara Regional Police staff who are watching online. Thank you for your support and staying connected. Although this meeting is taking place online, we acknowledge the land we are on as we hold this meeting is the traditional territory of First Nations peoples. In particular, we recognize and thank the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples for their stewardship of these lands over the millennia. We also recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous people, both in shaping and strengthening this region in particular, and our province and our country as a whole. I'm going to go to roll call. Just let me know if you're here. Member D'Angela.
I'm here.
Member Eek.
Present.
Member Gale.
I'm here.
Member Gibson.
Present.
Member Lawson.
Present.
And Member McKendrick.
Good morning.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest?
None.
No.
Seeing none. I have one set of minutes, the minutes of the board meeting held on November the 26th, 2020. I have this moved by Member D'Angela, seconded by Member Eek, that the minutes of the public board meeting held November the 26th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Any questions on those minutes? All those in favor, just raise a hand. And that's carried. We're now going to reports from the board chair. The CAPG hosts monthly webinars as part of its educational strategy to keep police boards and police executives across Canada apprised of issues currently impacting the policing community. There are two webinars being held this month. Today at noon, there is a webinar on body-worn cameras from Axon Public Safety Canada, and there is a second webinar scheduled for Monday, December the 14th at noon on board effectiveness from the Calgary Police Commission. The timing of these sessions may conflict with other meetings and events in the board's calendar. However, a recorded session with presentation materials will be provided to members after the webinars. Specifically on today's, we will be able to get that after. On December the 14th at 1 p.m., the service will be holding a K-9 graduation ceremony at police headquarters to recognize Police Constable Wiley and Police Service Dog Rudy as the newest members of the K-9 unit. The ceremony will be held virtually, and a public link to the live stream will be provided prior to the start of the event. On January the 4th at 12:30 p.m., the service will be hosting a swearing-in ceremony to welcome Niagara's newest recruits. The event will be held virtually, and further details will be provided as we get closer to this event. On January the 20th at 8:30 a.m., the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police will be holding their Zone 4 quarterly meeting. The meeting is being held virtually and will be hosted by the Halton Police Services Board. And further details will be confirmed closer to this meeting date. I'm going to go over to Member Eek with regards to facilities. He has one update for us. Member Eek.
Thank you, Bill, and good morning. Since the last report, I'd indicated that we're in our final phases, really, of completion for our new one district station. We're just completing the exterior cladding and electrical and painting and lockers, etc., internal. However, just over 2 weeks ago, when we were going through checks with the facility, one of those was the checking of the backup power generator that's used in the event of a massive electrical fallout in order that we can function in this site. And the backup power generator did not function. This is one which is powered by natural gas. And so there was an investigation, and it was found that the pressure entering the power generator was insufficient to make it function appropriately. I think it was in the area of normally 2 pounds pressure that required 5 pounds PSI. And the solution, when investigated by the region and the prime consultant and the gas company, was to implement a high pressure natural gas switching station in order to take that 2 PSI up to 5 PSI and allow the backup station, power station, to function appropriately. There was a suggestion for a solution that was to put an additional gas line from Welland Avenue to a new station that would be located in the public area near the main entrance on the northwest side of our building. However, at our facilities meeting, it was decided that this was not a favorable solution in order to meet our operational critical success factors that we have in policing. So what resulted was a special committee that met just over a week ago to take a look at any and all solutions to resolve and locate this high pressure station. And collaboratively, the region and our prime consultant, Stantec, and our gas company resolved to a solution that will place it now within the police sector on site in the southeast side of the building. And this will give us the requirements necessary to operate safely and provide our security. And so really it's been resolved. There is a cost associated with this change, the purchase of this high pressure natural gas switching station. And that has been resolved, that the cost associated with that will be borne by our prime consultant, Stantec. There will not be a cost associated to the region. With respect to timing, it may defer the final completion by 2 to 3 weeks in order that this high pressure station can be built. It's not an off-the-shelf conversion. And the good news is really we're still looking at a final completion and a move-in readiness in the latter part of the first quarter for 2021. So it was an issue that come up. It was collaboratively resolved with all working parties. And I think we're all happy with the solution that was resolved. So that's my update, Bill. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Any questions on that to Member Eek? Okay, seeing none. The next committee meeting date is scheduled for Thursday, January the 14th. And the next monthly board meeting will be held on Thursday, January the 28th at 9 a.m. These meetings will be held by electronic participation through Zoom. Next up is, any questions on my report? Seeing none, next up is the report from the Chief. Chief McCullough.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Chair. Morning, board members. I'll start by providing an update with regards to our ongoing COVID-19 situation. Our service continues to manage and adapt to the ever-changing reality of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact it's having on the community and our members. In Niagara, we remain in the orange or restrict level, but with our neighbors in Hamilton and Halton in the red control zone. The acting medical officer of health, Dr. Hergy, has warned that it will be a challenge to keep our case counts stabilized. However, we're hopeful in doing what we can as a service to prevent the spread of the virus within the workplace and our community. Further, as board members are well aware, the Niagara region continues to maintain a Section 22 order under the Health Protection and Promotion Act as it pertains to rules and restrictions for food and drink premises within the region. As you recall from our last board meeting, I reported that the service to date has had only 2 members test positive for COVID-19. since our last meeting, and in fact, yesterday we had one additional member test positive for COVID-19. We're continuing to work with Niagara Region Public Health to ensure contact tracing is undertaken as quickly as possible. And our member is at home self-isolating, and we certainly wish them a speedy recovery. The service has commenced the distribution of branded face coverings to members that meet the requirements of the Region of Niagara mask and face covering bylaw. The masks are branded with the service crest and are 3-ply to comply with the latest public health guidance. The face coverings provided are for use while on duty and only in appropriate circumstances, as they will not replace the need for a surgical or an N95 mask when it's appropriate to wear one of those. Life within our region continues to be far from normal, and the provincial and public health authorities continue to stress physical distancing, frequent hand washing, respiratory etiquette, the wearing of face coverings or masks when physical distancing can't be achieved, and encouraging people to stay at home when ill. We continue to encourage our members to observe these same safety measures both in the workplace as well as in their personal lives when off duty. Our Pandemic Business Continuity Committee continues to meet twice a week regularly to adapt our methods as needed. The service continues to be vigilant and methodical in our approach to ensure the safety of all of our members. We'll continue to be flexible and adaptable to changing circumstances based on a combination of government and public health direction, and we will continue to closely monitor what is taking place within our community. The service continues to work closely with our emergency services partners at fire and EMS, our local municipalities, the region, public health, in participating in the Emergency Operations Center, which helps guide us through these ever-evolving times. The service to date has issued 17 provincial offense notices for failing to comply with orders. I can further advise that we've received a total of 1,410 COVID-19 specific calls for service related to the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, or the Reopening of Ontario Act orders. Service continues to maintain an adequate supply of PPE, including N95 and surgical masks, glove, hand sanitizer, and wipes. And the supply chain for PPE continues to be monitored and assessed to ensure that we're well positioned for any future possibilities. Since the start of the pandemic, we've been able to maintain adequate staffing levels, and we've not had to cancel any time off for members. In terms of calls for service, we continue to trend at or near pre-pandemic levels. There's been no significant deviation of calls for service in respect to any geographic area within the region or in relation to any particular vulnerable group or any serious breaches of the peace related to the pandemic. In an effort to safeguard and ensure that our members have the most current and accurate information, I've sent out a total of 63 service-wide email messages as it pertains to COVID-19, and will continue to do so as the situation evolves. All members of the service, sworn in, civilian, continue to do an outstanding job during these unprecedented times. And I can't thank our members enough for their ongoing dedication and professionalism as they continue to serve our community. We continue to see record positive cases in the province, with community transmission also occurring here in Niagara. And it's critical that we all do our part to limit the spread of COVID-19 where possible, particularly as we enter the holiday season. Now is certainly not the time to become complacent. We must continue to all be vigilant in closely monitoring and following the guidelines of public health. I just wanted to provide the board our year-to-date homicide statistics. During the reporting period, we did not have any new homicides, so Year to date, we've had a total of 5 homicides and 3 attempt homicides. Comparatively, and these numbers fluctuate year to year, we had 7 homicides and 2 attempts in 2019, 2 homicides and 7 attempts in 2018, 3 homicides and 3 attempts in 2017, and 1 homicide and 1 attempt in 2016. During the reporting period for the month of November, there was 1 fatal motor vehicle collision and 2 life-threatening injury motor vehicle collisions. Just by way of the board's awareness, for year to date, we have 16 fatal collisions that have resulted in a total of 19 deaths year to date. Comparatively, we had 13 fatal collisions in both 2018 and 2019, 16 in both 2016 and 2017, and 15 in 2015. Just some information with regards to the fatal collision. On Monday, November the 9th, we responded to a report of a motor vehicle collision involving a tractor in the area of Main Street and 21st Street in the town of Lincoln. Investigation determined that a male was operating a work farm tractor when it left the roadway, traveled down an embankment, and collided with a tree. The operator was transported from the scene by ambulance to a local hospital with life-threatening injuries, and unfortunately later succumbed to those injuries. An examination did not find any medical faults with the tractor that would have caused or contributed to the collision. It has since been determined that the cause of death was a fatal medical event. In addition to the frontline uniform patrol officers, this collision was investigated by members of our collision reconstruction unit and the Ministry of Labor. In relation to one of the serious injury motor vehicle collisions on Sunday, November the 15th, members of Niagara Parks Police attended the Niagara River Parkway in front of the Floral Show House for a single motor vehicle collision. Investigation determined that a motor vehicle traveling northbound at a high rate of speed lost control, striking 2 trees and coming to rest on its driver's side. A 23-year-old male and a 21-year-old passenger were transported to out-of-town hospitals with what were initially thought to be life-threatening injuries. Those injuries have since been downgraded and both are recovering. This investigation continues to remain under investigation by our collision reconstruction unit and the Niagara Parks Police. And on Wednesday, November the 25th, officers responded to a motor vehicle collision on Carleton Street in St. Catharines. Investigation determined that an 83-year-old male was crossing the road and was struck by a motor vehicle operated by a 17-year-old male. The pedestrian was transported to an out-of-town hospital where he remains with life-threatening injuries. The 17-year-old was not injured in the accident, and the investigation in this matter continues by our collision reconstruction unit. Just a few items in the news. Over the past few months, the Niagara Regional Police have seen an increase in fraudulent transactions involving credit cards. Central Fraud Unit issued an advisory to the public and the media in relation to a common scam that's in circulation, specifically with the presence of COVID-19 and more transactions being done online. Businesses are advised to be aware and take preventative steps to ensure that they do not become a victim of fraud. On December 2nd, at approximately 6:30 a.m., uniform officers were called to Niagara Falls residence for a report of an assault involving weapons. Investigation by our officers determined that persons within that residence confronted 3 male suspects they found in a bedroom. The male in his 30s was beaten by the suspects with a club and 2 replica firearms, who departed prior to police arrival. The victim was transported to hospital and treated and released for his injuries. which included being shot with a pellet. One replica handgun was recovered at the scene. Officers received information that the suspects may be at a residence in the area of Kerr Street and Franklin Avenue in Niagara Falls. Officers from our emergency task unit and uniform officers attended the residence. 3 suspects exited and were arrested and charged with various weapons-related offenses. This matter is believed to be a targeted incident, just for the public and community awareness. On Saturday, December the 5th, uniform members conducted a reduced impaired driving everywhere or ride checkpoint on Niagara Stone Road in Niagara on the Lake and on Oakdale Avenue in the city of St. Catharines. Between the hours of 6 p.m. and 1 a.m., officers stopped approximately 500 vehicles and conducted 29 roadside tests. And as a result, 3 provincial offense notices were issued and 4 persons were issued with 3-day driver's license suspensions. One of the ride officers, ironically, while on their way to the St. Catharines ride location, noted erratic driving of a particular vehicle, which was subsequently identified as being stolen from St. Catharines. The car was stopped along the Welland Canal Parkway, and the driver was arrested and charged with various offenses, which included drug offenses. And then finally, just one last announcement. As with many events, COVID-19 has altered how we're marking the holidays this year. Typically, we would gather in the community room here at headquarters for my annual holiday breakfast to support community care in helping families through the holidays, which, as the board knows, is always a very well-attended event with tremendous support from our community partners. We know that many families in Niagara, now more than ever, still need our help. So instead of the annual breakfast, we're asking those who are able and likely who would have attended to consider purchasing a gift card to help put a smile on a child's face over the holiday season. We'll be sending out a link on our social media platforms where people can purchase gift cards in denominations of $15, $25, $50, and $100 to sponsor families through community care. Pandemic or no pandemic, we're committed to continuing to help those in our community who need it. And those are my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions to the Chief with regards to his report? Okay, seeing none. There are no presentations today. We have one item under the consent agenda, item 7.1, the annual report, solicitation and acceptance of public donations, sponsorships, or private sector funding agreements, January 1st to December 31st, by Member Gale and seconded by Member Gibson, that this information be received. Any questions on item 7.1? All those in favor, please raise their hand. That's carried. New business. We have one item, 8.1, special fund request, Socks for Change program. I have this moved by Member Lawson, seconded by Member McKendrick, that the board approve a special fund donation in the amount of $1,500 for the Socks for Change program to assist with offsetting costs attributed to running this charitable organization. Any questions with regards to this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise their hand. And that's carried. Does anyone have any other new business under the public portion? Seeing none, there are no in-camera reports. Before we adjourn the public meeting, I would like to take this opportunity to extend the board's warmest thoughts and best wishes for the holiday season. This year, holiday celebrations will be different due to the pandemic. While these are challenging times for all of us, I would ask that we all think of our seniors and those less fortunate and facing hard times to consider reaching out or dropping off food and necessities for them. Throughout their season, and as we move into a new and hopefully better year, we wish everyone peace, connections with family and friends, even if they can't be in person, and as much happiness as these times can allow. On behalf of myself and the Niagara Police Services Board, I'd like to wish everyone a very safe and happy holiday season, and I know we are looking forward to 2021. So at this time, I would adjourn this portion of the meeting. We'll take 10 minutes and get into our next meeting. Thank you.